Tonight, the breaking news as we come on the air moments ago, President Trump saying Palestinians should leave Gaza, saying they have no alternative but to leave, that they should get a fresh, beautiful piece of land someplace else. Here in the U.S. tonight, bracing for a dangerous ice storm, the Midwest right into the east, Washington, Philadelphia, New York to Boston, dangerous driving. First tonight, President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House late today. The president now saying Palestinians should leave Gaza, saying if we could find the right piece of land and build them some really nice places. So what is the future of Gaza, and will this fragile ceasefire now hold amid this new talk that Palestinians should move elsewhere? This evening, the FBI has now turned over to the Justice Department a list of thousands of FBI agents and employees who worked on January 6th cases involving the people who attacked the Capitol and police. And tonight, FBI agents now filing at least 2 lawsuits against the Justice Department, claiming their own department is now targeting thousands of agents and employees who were doing their jobs investigating the horrific attack. Tonight, 2 of President Trump's most controversial cabinet picks clearing major hurdles now, Tulsi Gabbard and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and the Republican senator, also a doctor, who had reservations about RFK Jr. on why he's now supporting him. He's also up for re-election. We're tracking that dangerous ice storm set to bring treacherous driving from the Midwest to the Northeast, multiple states, and in the East as well, multiple major cities in the path of this storm, D.C., New York to Hartford. Ginger Z has the forecast. Tonight, search crews have now recovered the bodies of all 67 victims killed on that American Airlines passenger jet in the Potomac. And tonight, what we've now learned about the investigation. They were the big names in sports targeted in burglaries, including quarterback Joe Burrow. Tonight, the arrests in the New York City area and why FBI agents suddenly moved in on New York's Diamond District. The huge block of ice falling from the sky, smashing through the roof of a home. Tonight, the FAA now investigating where this came from. Also tonight, if you order breakfast with eggs, the famous chain now charging more because of the rising cost of eggs. Tiger Woods tonight on the loss of his mother, his message. And we also remember an American hero right here.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. As we come on the air in the West tonight, we do have breaking news. President Trump late today suggesting Palestinians should leave Gaza, that they should get a fresh, beautiful piece of land someplace else. The president went on to say late this evening, with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at his side, that the U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip and we will do a job with it too, he said. We will own it. The U.S. will be responsible for dismantling the dangerous unexploded bombs, level the site, and create economic development. Just can't go back, the president said. Now, the president saying this during a news conference this evening with the Israeli prime minister. And this new suggestion that Palestinians should leave comes just days after the world saw those images of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians returning to North Gaza after so many months of war. So where would this beautiful piece of land someplace else be? And how will this work with the U.S., as the president suggested, taking over the Gaza Strip? Our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce, leading us off tonight.
Tonight, standing next to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, President Trump declaring that the United States would take over the Gaza Strip.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years.
The big question, who would live there? Earlier in the day, Trump saying the Palestinian residents of Gaza should relocate elsewhere.
It would be my hope that we could do something really nice, really good, where they wouldn't want to return. Why would they want to return? The place has been hell. It's been one of the meanest, toughest places on earth.
But Trump adamant.
The only reason they want to go back, and I believe this strongly, is because they have no alternative. What's the alternative? Go where? There's no other alternative. If they had an alternative, they'd much rather not go back to Gaza and live in a beautiful alternative that's safe.
Trump saying Egypt or Jordan should take the Palestinians in. But Egypt and Jordan have rejected that idea. Today, Trump saying that's just talk. So again, David, the president tonight saying that the U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, that the U.S. will own it and develop it. And he says he is willing to send in the U.S. military if necessary. And he made clear that Palestinians should leave and relocate elsewhere. David.
Mary Bruce leading us off at the White House. Mary, thank you. The other developing headline at this hour, we have learned the FBI has followed an order to turn over to the Justice Department a list of thousands of FBI agents and employees who worked on January 6th cases involving the people who attacked the Capitol and police. Tonight, FBI agents now filing at least 2 lawsuits against the Justice Department, claiming the agents are now being targeted by their own department for doing their jobs investigating the horrific attack on the Capitol and on officers. Let's get right to our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas, with us live. Pierre, what have you learned?
David, the FBI has just turned over information about thousands of its employees to DOJ headquarters and is causing an outcry. They say they simply acted on assignments given by their bosses and were following on court orders to investigate Trump's handling of classified documents and to investigate and arrest those who participated in the violent attack on police officers at the Capitol on January 6th. Agents claim that a massive list about FBI employees is being compiled for Justice Department review, and it is a violation of their privacy, does not allow for due process, and raises the risk that they'll be personally targeted by now pardoned members of the mob. The 2 federal lawsuits are asking the court to stop collection and dissemination of information about all these employees, and also calls for the Justice Department to pay the legal bills for FBI personnel that they incur in what they believe is a totally unfair process, David.
Pierre Thomas with late reporting from Washington tonight. Pierre, thank you. This evening, 2 of President Trump's most controversial nominees clearing a major hurdle now on their path to confirmation. Secretary of Health and Human Services nominee Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Director of National Intelligence nominee Tulsi Gabbard both advancing out of committee today. Tonight, RFK Jr. overcoming the reservations of a key Republican senator who is also a doctor. That senator now supporting RFK Jr., the senator up for re-election. Here's our senior political correspondent, Rachel Scott.
Tonight, 2 of the president's most controversial nominees clearing key hurdles on track for confirmation as skeptical Republican senators fall in line. Health Secretary nominee Robert F. Kennedy Jr. winning approval of the Finance Committee after the lone Republican holdout, Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, who is also a doctor, voted yes.
Mr. Cassidy. Mr. Cassidy, aye.
Cassidy had grilled Kennedy over his years of spreading misinformation about vaccines. The senator acknowledged he was struggling with the nomination. But ultimately, Cassidy, who is facing re-election next year, fully aware of the pressure he could face for voting no, now giving Kennedy his full support.
Ultimately, restoring trust in our public health institution is too important. And I think Mr. Kennedy can help get that done.
A few hours later, former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, Trump's pick for Director of National Intelligence, passing a party line vote in the Senate Intelligence Committee, despite Republican concerns over her meeting with former Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad and her refusal to call Edward Snowden a traitor. Gabbard and Kennedy, 2 disruptors and a team of them. The leading figure, billionaire Elon Musk, who is out to reshape the government itself. His Department of Government Efficiency, staffed largely by young engineers, at least one of them just 19, have brought beds into their government offices. Musk posting on X, working the weekend is a superpower. His team getting access to the Treasury Department's payment system, which processes trillions of dollars of the government's bills and includes the personal information of millions of Americans. Musk then seizing control of USAID, which provides humanitarian assistance around the world, helping an estimated 32 million children suffering malnutrition and bringing food, water, shelter, and health care to victims of natural disasters. USAID's $43 billion budget is a tiny fraction of what the government spends, about 1%. But Musk, who is the world's richest man, posting, "We spent the weekend feeding USAID into the wood chipper." And tonight, sources tell ABC News that the State Department is now starting to evacuate all USAID staff who are on foreign assignments worldwide, some 1,500 to 2,000 people. The goal is to bring all those workers and their families back to the United States by this weekend. On Capitol Hill, Republicans applauding Musk's goals.
He's throwing out big ideas. And if anybody thinks that all of these big ideas are going to be implemented to conclusion, they don't understand the process of disruption.
But Democrats sounding the alarm.
It is unconscionable for him to be exercising kind of influence and power that he is with his conflicts of interest and his financial benefits flowing to him from the kind of destructive impact. It's not disruptive, it's destructive.
And the next target for Elon Musk, the Department of Education. Musk already looking for sweeping changes and cuts. Sources tell us that members of his team were spotted at the department this week. And tonight, President Donald Trump making it clear he wants to abolish the Department of Education altogether, David.
Rachel Scott live on the Hill tonight. Rachel, thank you. We're going to turn to weather news now. This dangerous ice storm on the way. Millions of Americans in the path from Iowa all the way over east to New York, right up to Massachusetts, reaching the I-95 corridor tomorrow night, right into Thursday morning. It could bring a treacherous commute Thursday for Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York, right up to Boston. Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z tracking it all for us here on a Tuesday night. Hi, Ginger.
Hi, David. Less than 24 hours now from Des Moines to Boston. We're preparing for this ice storm to ramp up. So let's go ahead and talk about those winter weather advisories on the map and the ice storm warning in the Allegheny Mountains there from Altoona down to Snowshoe, West Virginia. So it's the timing that you want to know, because anybody trying to travel in this could have major issues. They're saying in some parts, just don't do it. Chicago, 1 a.m. You stop it there all the way to Columbus, Ohio. That's when that freezing rain is happening, where the rain falls on a sub-freezing surface and makes that glaze that's like an ice skating rink, all the way across I-70 through Pennsylvania, just south of State College, over to Philadelphia. Look at that time, 7 a.m., the morning commute, a burst of snow in New York City, and then the mix, and then eventually rain at the coast. Boston, though, by the afternoon, going to stick with the frozen stuff. David.
So Wednesday night into Thursday morning could be a really messy commute. So, Ginger, thank you. We'll track it right here with you. We turn now to the crash over the Potomac. Tonight, search crews have now recovered the bodies of all 67 victims killed on that American Airlines passenger jet and the Black Hawk helicopter. Tonight, what we've now learned about the investigation, that they are now trying to sync up the black boxes from the plane and the Black Hawk. ABC's Gio Benitez covers aviation.
Tonight, some closure for the families of that deadly air collision in Washington, D.C. Officials saying the remains of all 67 victims have now been recovered. Throughout the day, salvage crews pulling more wreckage from the American Airlines plane out of the Potomac. The NTSB now working on a detailed timeline and synchronizing data from the black boxes of both aircraft, along with those ATC communications.
S25, CRJ in flight. This club has a aircraft in flight for separation.
The NTSB obtaining training and flight logs for both flight crews, stating the Air Traffic Control Group has completed interviews of all 5 staffed positions in the tower. The key question, if the helicopter was flying higher than the allowed altitude of 200 feet around the airport, why? The most accurate flight data shows the crash happening at just over 300 feet. Overnight, a moving water cannon salute on the runway. The body of American Airlines flight attendant Ian Epstein flown to Charlotte to be buried. And U.S. figure skating sharing this tribute, remembering the 28 athletes, coaches, and family members who were lost. And David, the NTSB says in order to confirm how high that helicopter was flying, they first have to pull it out of the river, and that could take days. David.
Gio Benitez back with us tonight. Gio, thank you. We turn now to the high-profile burglaries that have made national headlines involving some big names in sports. Tonight, the arrests in the New York City area now and why FBI agents suddenly moved in on New York's Diamond District. Here's our senior investigative correspondent, Aaron Katersky.
The FBI searching this pawn shop in Manhattan's Diamond District, where they say they track some of the luxury items stolen in a rash of recent burglaries at the homes of professional athletes, including Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow.
Someone is trying to break into the house right now. My daughter is there. This is Joe Burrow's house. She is staying there. He's at the football game.
Tonight, 2 men are under arrest, charged with brokering the sale of watches, jewelry, and handbags that prosecutors say were stolen by South American gangs targeting athletes and other wealthy homeowners across the country. For nearly 5 years, authorities say Dmitry Nizinsky and Juan Villar were the middlemen, buying the loot from the burglary crews and then selling it at their pawn shop. Officers and agents raiding the place today, they say they seized dozens of high-end watches and pieces of jewelry. Court records say Nizinsky is linked to at least some of the suspected burglars now charged with breaking into Burrow's home.
Hey, where are you going right now?
Body camera video showing 4 Chilean nationals questioned by police in Ohio last month. An old LSU shirt and a Bengals hat were found in the back of their car. These South American burglary crews, David, have been operating in the country for years, and police say the 2 men arrested here today were the ones who created a marketplace for what they stole. They'll be in court here tomorrow, David.
Could potentially be an incredible connection. Thank you, Aaron, on that late reporting tonight. Overseas tonight, the worst mass shooting in Sweden's history. Police responding to a report of shots fired at a school for adult education 2 hours from Stockholm. Students locked down in classrooms, alarms blaring, at least 10 people killed, including the gunman. Police say the suspect acted alone. There were no warning signs, and at this point, no indication that terror was the motive. We turn to Gaza now, of course, in the news tonight, given President Trump's comments that Palestinians should now leave. Tonight, as the fragile ceasefire between Hamas and Israel holds, at least for now, our chief foreign correspondent, Ian Pannell, with the first access for an American news team flying over the devastation in Gaza with this ceasefire now in place.
As President Trump suggests Palestinians should leave Gaza, we get an up-close look at the urgent humanitarian efforts underway from the back of this Black Hawk helicopter. Since the guns fell silent and hostages were exchanged, we're the first American news outlet to see Jordan and others in the Middle East conduct these mercy missions by air, hoping to ease a growing crisis.
Right now, we have Jordan to our right, Israel to our left. We're actually flying over the Dead Sea with the Royal Jordanian Air Force. These troops are delivering this much-needed aid to Gaza, which is just in the distance.
After 2 long hours in the air, we finally touched down on the edge of Gaza. The Jordanian airmen rushing to get the aid on the ground under the watchful eye of the Israeli military in the distance.
Well, this is as far as we're allowed to go. The barbed wire is stopping us from entering further into Gaza. But all around here, you can see the debris, the wreckage, the ruins of what used to be people's homes, people's lives.
As we fly out, the impact of 15 months of war is stark. The bulldozered remains of a strip of land more than 2 million people still call home.
David, despite President Trump's comments today, there is almost universal opposition here in the Middle East to the idea of moving people out of Gaza, not least by the Palestinians themselves. David?
I know you'll continue to follow this. Ian Pannell, our chief foreign correspondent. Ian, thank you. When we come back here in the U.S. tonight, a huge block of ice falling from the sky, smashing through the roof of a home. Of course, where did it come from? The FAA now investigating this. Also tonight, the famous chain now charging more because of the rising cost of eggs. And there's news tonight about Tiger Woods, his very personal loss, and what he's saying tonight about his mother. Tonight, the FAA is now investigating a mysterious 6-foot chunk of ice falling from the sky, slamming into a home in Palm Coast, Florida, north of Daytona Beach. The ice smashing through the metal roof of the home. Pieces of ice also found in the street. No one inside the home at the time was hurt. Authorities believe it likely fell from a plane. When we come back here tonight, the popular breakfast chain now charging more per egg as egg prices continue to climb in the U.S., what they're saying. And Tiger Woods tonight and his very personal message about his mother. To the index of other news tonight, the rising cost of eggs in the U.S. has led to Waffle House raising its prices. The popular chain adding a temporary surcharge, 50 cents per egg on all orders. The company says it will monitor egg prices, adjusting or removing the surcharge when the market eases. But the rising prices come amid the spread of bird flu here in the U.S. Tonight, Tiger Woods sharing a personal message following the death of his mother, Kultida. He describes her as his biggest fan, greatest supporter, and a force of nature all her own. He says without her support and sacrifice, none of his success would have been possible. Kultida Woods was 80. When we come back tonight, we remember an American hero and what he did. Finally tonight here, one of the last surviving members of the Tuskegee Airmen has died, a hero and a trailblazer. Tonight here, remembering an American hero.
A group of average Americans must become a team of fighting men with wings.
Retired Lieutenant Colonel Harry Stewart Jr. was a fighter pilot in World War II, part of the Tuskegee Airmen, America's first ever black combat pilots.
Squadron after squadron out of Tuskegee.
The Tuskegee Airmen playing a vital role in the U.S. victory of World War II. Lieutenant Colonel Stewart would fly 43 combat missions during World War II. He was one of only 4 Tuskegee Airmen with 3 air-to-air victories in a single day, taking down 3 Nazi planes in one flight. At 18, training with the first group of black pilots at Tuskegee Army Airfield in Alabama. Retiring in 1950, he would go on to become an executive in Detroit. Lieutenant Colonel Stewart, one of the last Tuskegee surviving airmen, died at his home in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. He was 100 years old. Tonight here, retired Lieutenant Colonel Stewart, in his own words.
I'm just happy that I did my part, and that's it. And if any of the benefits that our race derived from it makes me very, very, very proud.
We honor his sacrifice. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.